Welcome to Mind Body Besties, your weekly reset with real talk, a little laughter, and the kind of honest conversations you'd have with your closest friend. I'm Katie, a therapist.
And I'm Rachel, a naturopathic doctor. We're here to share the personal stories, struggles, and wins that have shaped our own health and happiness. This isn't a lecture, it's a safe space to slow down, connect, and feel a little more human again. So grab your coffee, get cozy, and let's reset together.
Welcome back to another episode of Mind Body Besties. Today, we are going to be talking about the controversial topic of whether or not sunscreen causes skin cancer.
This is going to be a good one because the answer is yes and no. And so we're going to get into the cool details.
Yeah, I think this is a conversation I've seen a lot being in the holistic space, and people are like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? We know the sun causes skin cancer. We know that. But then what about sunscreen? If I can't wear sunscreen, how am I supposed to not get skin cancer? And I think people lack, as they do in a lot of spaces, lack nuance here. And they say no sunscreen causes skin cancer. Or they say, no, absolutely it doesn't. So we're going to give some nuance here and talk about all of the stuff in between.
Yeah, and from what I've seen online, people think that the sun does not cause cancer at all. And so,
really?
Yes, I see that. I think because I am in that very much niche holistic side, there's just a lot of opinions out there. And so we'll talk about, does the sun cause cancer? Does it cause cancer in the way people think? How that all works.
So before doing any research on this topic, everything that I've always heard is all of the people that are very into only putting clean ingredients on your body, no carcinogens, no endocrine disruptors. Basically, they've all said well, there are all of these ingredients in chemical sunscreen especially, and I don't want to put that on my body because it's a hormone disruptor or something like that, or it's not a quote clean ingredient. They're not necessarily wrong that some of those ingredients may not be good to put on your skin, but those are not causing skin cancer. Most likely. They're doing other things that you may not want to happen.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of endocrine disruptors, which we could say most of our lotions and body washes and any shampoo that's going to touch your scalp. Fragrances, whether you're putting them on or you're riding in someone's car or whatever it is. There's a lot of the chemicals that when they're absorbed just the way these other lotions are, then yeah, they're not good for you. They're endocrine disruptors. And so they're messing up your cell signaling and your hormone signaling, which can indirectly increase your risk of cancer systemically. So it's not like it's just in your skin. That's happening from a different mechanism.
Yeah. Okay. So I think number one, we should start off with there are two main types of sunscreen that works different ways. We've got chemical sunscreens and we've got mineral sunscreens. And I think at least when we were kids, I don't know that anyone knew what mineral sunscreen was. Everything is copper tone, spray on, was it banana boat, all of the sunbum, all of those.
Where you had the pure zinc oxide paste, white paste. Yeah.
Yeah. And no one wanted to use that because it makes you white. And a lot of mineral sunscreens today do still have a white cast, which is why I think people don't want to use them. But
yeah.
So how are these working? How does mineral sunscreen work versus how does chemical sunscreen work?
Yeah, the titanium dioxide or the zinc oxide that are in mineral sunscreens, which are reef safe. So if you see something marked as reef safe, that means it's mineral. Those are acting as a mirror to reflect and scatter the light, which is why they have this white cast. They're light colored because they're acting as a physical barrier to physically be like a mirror on your skin and reflect the sun away from your skin. Versus the chemical ones, they are basically absorbing the sun's radiation and they're taking up that radiation so that it's not making it into your cells theoretically.
if it's not the ingredients being endocrine disruptors, whatever, causing skin cancer, why would people think that chemical sunscreens cause skin cancer?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm going to explain like how the sun radiation can cause cancer and then what's going
Okay.
on with the sunscreens. So sun is radiation, like sunlight is amazing for you. Katie and I could talk all day about its benefits.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that too and how to like get safe sun exposure.
Yeah, for sure.
But
So it's amazing. We need it. Like we are light beings. We need light for our mitochondria to work. But the sun is radiation, just like we would say getting an X-ray is radiation. There is radiation coming from the sun, and our cells have our DNA tightly packed and sheltered in the nucleus, the center of the cell. And so tanning is actually a response to sun, where your cell is putting up dark brown pigmented umbrellas so that the sun can't penetrate to the nucleus where the precious DNA that's coding our cells is stored. And cancer is caused by DNA behaving abnormally and replication errors. So we're having a zipper system that's zipping, copying, and constantly making copies of our DNA all the time. And so skin cancer is coming from our skin cells being copied mistakenly. So if anything makes one of the teeth of that zipper come out or do something weird, then it messes up the whole zip. Like if you pulled out a section and you squished it together, replacing where that section was, then suddenly you're creating a different thing than you were before. Your body doesn't just skip over that section. It tries to keep everything in this nice zippered line when it's replicating our DNA. So the sun radiation is coming in, and this UV radiation is causing two parts of our DNA called thymine to do something called a dimer, where they bind and bend together like a U instead of staying straight like a zipper teeth would.
I always think of it as like a ladder. And you were showing me a really interesting picture before this. And so one of those like rungs on the ladder becomes a U instead of staying straight.
Instead of connecting to the other side like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So that's what's happening. And because of that, now the whole zipper system is thrown off. The DNA that are going to be made that are copies of that DNA are going to be abnormal. And you're going to get a proliferation of abnormal cells, which is what we would call cancer. So UV light, it is radiation, and it does do that it causes those thymine dimers. And so protecting us from having that radiation effect in our nucleus is the goal of sunscreen. And so sunscreens, the mineral ones, are just reflecting that away, so it's not getting into the cell. The chemical ones are absorbing that radiation, but they're chemically reactive and they're a little bit unstable if they reach their maximum capacity of saturation. And they're absorbing this radiation, and then they're creating what we call free radicals. So oxygens that are not properly bound in a way to be neutral, but they're oxidative, which means inflammatory. And so we're getting direct inflammation from this photoreactive chemical that's sitting on our skin, which is the ones that are marketed as being sheer or clear because they're not a physical mirror. And they're absorbing this radiation and then basically transferring the oxidative stress of that radiation to our skin directly, which would impact your skin directly and cause potential skin cancer versus simply absorbing these endocrine disruptors into your bloodstream.
Okay. And I think a lot of people that are saying that sunscreen causes skin cancer, I don't think most of them could just explain what you explained.
I feel like people, are not looking at the whole big picture here and just saying like black and white on this.
Yeah. I think they hear it and just are like, oh yeah, and they couldn't tell you why.
And like,
or they give you an incorrect reason.
yeah, and as we were talking about before, like it makes sense. We're also skeptical of all these companies making all these chemical products and like Yeah, they're putting all these terrible things in there that aren't good for us. And so it makes sense that we're like, they're chemicals, they're endocrine disruptors, they're not good for us. Of course, they're bad. But I do feel like it's important for people to know and understand the actual mechanism of how it happens.
Yeah. Are there any risks to wearing mineral sunscreens?
There's a debate about whether the particles are nano sized or not, because that could affect the absorption of the mineral sunscreen. And there's reasons for and against that. And mostly it's seeming to lean against nanoparticles, even though they blend in better and they look less like a white cast. But otherwise, no, I don't know personally any risks from mineral sunscreen.
So then, would you just recommend mineral sunscreen to be on the safe side?
I would recommend mineral sunscreen. They even have spray mineral sunscreen now.
Hmm.
And the unfortunate part is it is that white cast, for a lot of
Yeah.
people. So especially if you have darker pigmented skin, like it's definitely going to stand out. But there are a lot of companies, and we should talk about our favorite brands for sure, but there are some that are adding iron oxides, which are considered a safe way to add color tint because they're just minerals. And it's just like using a mineral foundation that has, a brown tone to it or whatever it is. So there are different mineral and different skin tone options now for mineral sunscreen. And there didn't used to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're one of those people that's like putting sunscreen on every single day, no matter what, you don't want to put something that has a white cast and then you have to put makeup on over it. Like I totally get that.
Yeah.
But like you said, they're almost like skin tints
Yeah.
basically now that are mineral sunscreen with the tint.
Yes.
And then that's gonna look a lot better if you care about what you look like because
Yes.
I do use mineral sunscreen and yeah, I always look a little, it's almost like silvery on
It
me
has like a
because I
weird
am very pale.
grayish tint. Even though I'm like so pale, I
Yeah.
can still notice it on myself.
Yeah. And some are worse than others. Some really stand out, some don't. But I would prefer that my skin be protected that way versus like not wearing sunscreen or wearing the chemical sunscreen.
Personally, I've switched to using, since I'm just not really a makeup person, I just use tinted moisturizer on my face. It kind of evens my skin tone a little bit, and I use one that has mineral SPF. And because it's tinted, then I don't have that white cast. If anything, the white cast is just part of the, smoothing that happens on your skin to help even out your tone because it has the color added to it.
While we're talking about that, what are some of your favorite sunscreen brands?
Yeah, one of my favorite brands is MyCHELLE. I can link it below. They're on Full Script and they have a lot of different options. They have a stick to travel in your purse, which I have. They have a plain just SPF lotion, and then they have different tinted facial moisturizers to match different skin tones.
Cool. There's a brand called Pipette. It's like a clean brand. And so there's like a lotion and there's a stick. I use the stick on my daughter because babies don't like sunscreen being put on them. And then I use the lotion and the white cast isn't terrible on it. And then I know Whole Foods has a spray mineral sunscreen. They're like 365 brand. I
Yeah.
haven't used it, but I've seen it a bunch of times. And then also I've got it at Target. It's called Babyganics, and it's a roll-on mineral sunscreen, which the white cast on that one's pretty intense.
I was gonna brand in it. It makes me so pale.
It's pretty intense, but it's convenient to put on a kid.
Yeah. I mean, they're not gonna remember that you traumatized them like that, and you're gonna prevent skin cancer.
No. My 14-month-old does not care about whether she has a white cast or not.
Yeah.
And also, like, her daycare requires that each kid have their own sunscreen and they put sunscreen on them before they go out, but if they're going to be out longer than 30 minutes, I think. And so I just sent her with the little roll on to try to make it easy on the daycare people.
That seems like a great idea. You talking about the sun exposure in kids, one of the things we learned in med school is that it's not so much like a little bit of sun every day that causes sun cancer, but if you have some really bad burns, like even if you're no matter what age you are, that can catch up to you and contribute to skin cancer when you're 60. So making sure you prevent big burns is so important.
Yeah. And do we really need to wear sunscreen every single day?
So, if to prevent aging, yes, because the sun is the fastest aging accelerator in our skin. It breaks down collagen, it breaks down the firmness of our skin, it dehydrates our skin, it reduces our elasticity, and it accelerates our actual aging by increasing those free radicals and inflammation in the skin. But if we're just trying to protect ourselves from the sun, what I have come to believe is that it's about our individual levels of melanin. So, like, I am not a highly melanated person. I freckle, but I don't really tan. So, I don't create a lot
I
of
don't
melanin
either.
to protect my cells. So, I don't have those little umbrella pigment shields protecting my cells. So, I could get I was laughing about the 30 minutes because I could definitely get burnt like really badly in 20 minutes.
The two of us were somewhere. I don't remember. We were outside and you were like, I'm already burnt. And I was like, you are kidding
It's
me.
crazy. So I've done a couple things to reduce that. For me, when I really changed my diet, that was huge because then I had so many antioxidants and I didn't have this inflammatory and I didn't have the processed rancid seed oils that are really commonly consumed that were increasing my oxidative stress in my skin. And I do a couple of things. I take methylene blue, which is this dye that's been adapted to be an antioxidant and a brain booster. I take a really low level of it because it actually protects your skin from the sun. It's like a potent
Wow.
antioxidant. And if I'm going to be in the sun, I take a protectant like astaxanthin orally, which is the pink stuff that makes flamingos pink.
No
The
way.
pigment, yeah, and it protects our skin. And there's a bunch of other antioxidants and bioflavonoids that are super helpful. And vitamin A, like beta carotenes from carrots, is
That's
super
so
helpful for
cool.
protecting the skin.
Very cool. So, okay, so aging, have you ever seen, I've seen this picture a million times. It's an old man who's a truck driver, and he's been truck driving for years and years and years. And the side of his face by the driver's side window is so sun damaged
Yeah.
and wrinkled, and the other side is not as bad
And skin cancer is more common on the left side of your face
because of
because of
driving.
driving in the US. I'm sure
Okay.
in England it's the opposite.
I was gonna say, so then in England, it must be the
Or maybe
opposite.
not because they don't seem to get any sun there. So maybe they're not a good example.
That's true. They're probably fine. So there are, I mean, obviously there are lots of benefits to getting out in the sun. So if you're gonna get out in the sun for an extended period of time, protect yourself. But we need to see the sun. We are not meant to just sit in the dark all of the time. We
Yeah.
need vitamin D. People that are depressed have low levels of vitamin D most of the time. And also to get morning sun is very important. And then I know it also helps with the circadian rhythm. And if you are not sleeping well, you're more likely to be depressed,
Yes.
anxious, all of that. And so the sun is super important.
Yeah. So burning, turning red in your skin, and significant freckling are signs of sun damage. And so
Hmm.
I like to get controlled sun exposure on parts of my body that are not as sensitive as my face. Like I know because my face burns faster that my skin is so much more sensitive there. And so on my torso, on my back, on my legs, I like to get whatever amount of sun I can get before I would start turning red or getting a lot of new freckles. And
There are certain times of day, like don't go out at the very hottest part of the day when the sun is directly above you. You can pick lower light times to
what's
go out and
tricky
get
about them,
sun.
it's all this dance because 11 to 2 is when the UVB is most direct, which is the type of the UV radiation that gives us vitamin D.
Hmm.
It's so hard because we have to balance getting our vitamin D with not getting burnt, with getting enough sun, getting sun at the right times to stimulate our cortisol, and then tell our body it's time for bed. Basically, we should just always be outside a little bit in partial shade all day.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it also, like, it depends on your skin type too. Do you
Yeah.
have darker skin? Do you have lighter skin? How fast do you burn?
Yeah.
And so for some people, they can spend more time outside and they're fine, and other people just can't.
And it's
I I tan a little bit, but I get freckles on my shoulders really bad. And so I've also had some really, really bad burns, like when I was a teenager on my shoulders. And now when I think about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have never let that happen.
It's
I'm
so
gonna have
speaking of
old looking
bad.
shoulders.
Yes, and thinking of all those times like we've gotten really burnt. I hate thinking of those times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then aside from sunscreen, like other ways you can prevent too much sun exposure is like, clothes.
Yeah. You
Uh,
can buy UV filtered clothes now.
mhm. Yeah, you can. Hats, clothes,
Yeah.
sit under a tree,
Yeah.
under, like a covered patio. You may not be getting the most direct sun, but, at a certain point, you do have to cover yourself up or you're going to get burnt.
Yeah, and moisturizing your skin is really helpful too. Skin that's moisturized and supple has a lot more of a defense against a burn than dry skin. And as actually coconut oil has a natural SPF of 8. You could be out
Interesting.
in the sun potentially 8 times longer than you could without sunscreen, without getting burnt, before starting to get burnt. But that's only if it's like unrefined, non-processed coconut oil. But truly, it's sunscreen is just, especially because we are having more chemicals introduced into our atmosphere, and those can amplify the UV radiation. And so, even if people could get away 50 years ago with not wearing so much sunscreen, I think we have a different environment nowadays, and I think we have more harmful UV rays. And so, truly, it'd be a good idea for everyone to think about sunscreen. Even if you have really dark colored skin, you could still be getting burnt and just not see it. So it's hard to gauge, but it's definitely a personal thing.
Yeah. Okay, so overall, does chemical sunscreen, cause skin cancer? Yes or no?
I think we're a long way from having the research that shows us, but I think that same thing with functional medicine. If we look at biochemistry, I think there's a very plausible argument that yes, chemical sunscreen can contribute to cancer. I don't know if the instability and photoreactivity and oxidative stress from the chemical agents on the skin outweighs the amount of cancer that it prevents by helping to, still deflect some of that radiation from the nucleus of our cells. So even though it could be contributing to cancer, it could still be better than not wearing sunscreen for someone who won't wear mineral sunscreen. I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah.
cost benefit is there.
Yeah, I think we've got a long way to go on figuring that out, but I also just like wanted to make that point because there's so many polarizing opinions online and just think critically, think for yourself
Please.
and please. And sometimes I think people get really angry at what other people are saying and it's like it's okay to not agree with them, but not be angry about it. Or it's okay to hear them say that and be like, okay, well, I'm also going to use my own critical thinking skills and land somewhere in the middle. And I find that, this is not true of everything, but if you hear something really polarizing online, the real answer is probably somewhere in the middle.
It's in the gray zone and the nuance.
And also, if people don't care and they're like, no, I want to drink chemical sunscreen by the bottle. Okay, fine. You have discernment. You can decide what's best for you. But I do think that this is a really interesting topic. I'm always bringing up topics to Rachel, like controversial ones. And I'm like, hey, I heard this. Is this true? Just to see what her take is on it, because usually the answer is somewhere in the middle. Or there have been times you've been like, oh no, that is really bad. That's
That's
bad.
true. Yeah. I love that. And tying everything back to the brain, because we always seem to somehow wind everything back to the brain because our brain is so freaking important. But when we're in a state of our nervous system is more heightened and reactive, we're more drawn to black and white statements and black and white thinking. So if we find ourselves being susceptible and in retrospect being like, wow, I was really pulled into that black and white statement or whatever it is, that's a really good sign that our nervous system is probably dysregulated. And if we did some regulation,
Yeah.
we might actually start to crave the nuance and the gray space in the middle.
Yeah, well, in the mental health world, we like to call that a cognitive distortion, the all or nothing thinking or black and white thinking. And CBT therapy really focuses on cognitive distortion because
Right.
everything is not black and white.
Yeah.
Things are pretty much always somewhere gray in the middle. And if you've got a healthy brain and you're thinking in a healthy way, you're probably going to land somewhere on that spectrum.
Yeah. And then you're happier because
Yeah.
those statements aren't making us angry.
No, it's not so like urgent and intense and like it's not signaling danger to your brain as
Yeah.
much as black or white thinking is.
Yeah. Yeah. To put it, as we like to talk about, it's not making your amygdala bigger. You get to stay
Yeah.
calm.
Exactly. We want to keep our amygdala calm as possible.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I'm glad we talked about this topic because I have been dying to shed some light. Good pun there. On this topic, just because, I mean, yeah, everyone can make their own decision. I'm not telling anyone what to do, but I just want everyone to have the right information so they can make an informed decision.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're just here to hopefully give you both sides or as much of both sides as we can. And then you can decide. It's your life.
Yeah,
You do you.
exactly. Well,
Okay.
thank you for tuning in, everyone. And yeah, let us know if you have follow-up questions to this. You can always comment on our YouTube videos where we post these episodes on YouTube.
Yeah. We could also turn comments on our Spotify too, maybe. If you guys are nice to us, we'll turn them on and leave them on.
That'll be a fun
But
experiment.
I would, yeah, I would, if you guys have any ideas for topics, I love a good controversial topic. I can't promise that we'll cover it, but if it's a good one, maybe we will.
Yeah, and you can message us or comment on our social media, Mind Body Besties too, to share your ideas.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, we will catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another weekly reset. If you loved hanging out with us today, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share this with a friend who could use a little calm and connection too.
This show is for education and inspiration, not medical advice. To learn more or connect with us, check out the show notes below. Until next time, take care of your mind, your body, and your heart.